Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunday Interview, your celebrity profile program, which brings you closer to the real stories of your favorite people told straight from their hearts. I'm Joke Lijadu. He started his career as a civil servant, rising to the position of the Deputy Director in the Nigerian Customs Service before calling it quits. But not many people know that he contested for the presidency in 1993, placing third after MKO Abiola and Babagana Kingibe in the Social Democratic Party primaries. He is the only surviving child of his parents, an experience he never wants his children to go through. If you are still wondering who my guest is, you will get to know after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Our guest today has, despite all odds, made a name for himself. Though an only child, he has, in more ways than one, predisposed himself and, of course, his legacies. He is no other than former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Jacob. It's a pleasure to have you.
Now, let me ask you, let me start like this. Far from what people know about Atiku being the businessman, being the politician, being the philanthropist, who really is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar?
Well, as you have introduced, I'm an only child, and I grew up as such from an extremely poor background. And I think throughout my childhood, it was a period of loneliness because no brother, no sister, no cousin, no nephew, both of my father's and mother's side. So it was quite a very lonely childhood. And up to a point in time when I started, having family of my own. And that is, I think, the aspect that people really need to reflect on. Yeah.
Now, you said you come from a slightly poor background.
Not slightly.
A poor background.
A really poor background.
A really poor background.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I remember sometimes we used to have only one meal in a day. That's that much poor.
I'm sure a lot of people will be inspired by your story, how you came out of nothing and became what you are today, which is, of course, significant. Can you tell us a bit about that story? How did you break all the barriers that obviously must have held you down at that point?
It's sheer determination and hard work. That's actually what brought me up. Sheer determination and hard work. Because as growing up as a child, I used to have a number of activities in a day. Early morning, I would fetch water for the family, then go to school, come back from school, then take the cattle for rearing, and then coming back, I have to fetch firewood, come back, and the cattle was not our own, but it was a wealthier neighbor's own, who would now, in exchange, give us some grains,
milk,
to feed for the family. So it was really out of very, very hard work, and then trekking 50 miles, to either visit my mother during holidays and then back. Really, it was a really period of hard work.
Now, I know that your dad was in a way against the Western education and maybe didn't give you all the support you wanted. How did you manage?
Not in a way. He was really outrightly
against Western education.
Against education. You see, when there were attempts to enroll me into school in Nigeria, he was vehemently against it. He smuggled me across to the neighboring country of Cameroon. He found that they were doing the same thing. Smuggled me back and left me with my grandmother. So it was when I was in hiding in my grandmother's room that I was brought out, by my uncle, my paternal uncle, elder brother to my mother, and then enrolled into school. And by the time I visited him when I was just in primary 2, he would not let me come back. And they had to deploy the local authority police
to come get you.
To come get me and him too, back to school. And then I was sent back to school. And then he was tried in the local court. And then he was convicted and sentenced to prison. or pay a fine of 10 shillings in those days. He didn't have the money, so my grandmother paid, and he went back to the village, and I never saw him until he died.
How inspiring.
Very bad.
Now, despite all this, at 43, you grew to become the deputy director of the Nigerian Customs Service, an enviable position that I must say. Now, tell me how the journey, into the Customs Service went for you. How was the journey?
Again, it was hard work, dedication to my duty, and what is also interesting was that at that point in time there was no northerner who was heading the Customs Service. But then I got promoted every other year to the extent that I ran faster than my colleagues. And by the time I decided to retire, I left my colleagues far behind me back in the service. So it was again hard work, dedication.
After you left the Customs Service, you decided to go into politics. Did you?
No, business first.
Business.
In fact, even while in customs, I was venturing into one form of business or the other.
Yeah, of course. That's why I didn't particularly say business, because it was part, it was almost pari passu with what you were doing.
Yeah.
But you went into full-fledged politics, as you left the Customs Service. Did you always know that you were going to be a politician, or was it just something that came by a stroke of luck?
I think at a stage when I was in the university, or in fact when I was in the School of Hygiene, that was when I began my political career as a student union activist. Okay. And then moved on to the university, and then continued with student union activism from my first year right through the end of my university days. In those days, most students get involved in politics either in their second year or third year when they would have. But in my own case, from the first year.
That was at Ahmadu Bello University.
Yes, and I got involved in student union activism until I left. And of course went into the civil service, and I knew it was a matter of time before I would go back to politics again.
I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, do you cook? Do you wash? How much of a family man are you? What are some of the things that you do?
At the early stage of my family life, I cooked, particularly when I attended courses abroad. I was cooking. I washed only my very, very personal, like my undies.
Okay.
My
handkerchiefs.
Yes, that I wash every morning till today. When I get into the bathroom, before I come out, I make sure I wash my hands. Yes,
okay, good to know you're Okay, now, if anybody wanted to wow you with some kind of special delicacy, what would that delicacy be?
My delicacy is mostly fish, chicken.
So fish pepper soup, chicken pepper soup would wow you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now let's talk about, all Nigerian men, or most Nigerian men are, football fans. Do you love football?
Yes, I love football quite all right, because I also played football in school. I was in the school team and then also the hockey team of the school. I played both football and hockey. So
do you have a favorite international club that you support?
I have been an Arsenal fan for more than 20 years now. So,
I'm sure you want to give some Man U fans some, you support them in a way too.
Well, if Arsenal loses, then I support either Man U or Chelsea.
Oh, okay, that's good. Now, what do you do for leisure? Say you want to relax. How do you relax? What are some of the things you do?
I read. I do quite a lot of reading, and particularly articles on politics, law, economy. I read them quite a lot. International affairs.
Now, you have a lot of children. Are you encouraging any of them to go into politics, or are you, taking steps to ensure that they don't even, they stay clear of Nigerian politics?
Honestly, in a family meeting, I told them, no politics for you. Before you get involved in the politics, then I must retire. There is no way both of us can be in politics. So they are completely out of politics.
Now, the American State University, which you own in Yola, is kind of like a give back, having students get an opportunity to, with an international standard of learning, which, we don't have just, at our beck and call here in Nigeria. What inspired, this investment in education for you?
It did not start with just the university. It started more than 20 years ago, with precisely, I think, about 25 years ago, with a nursery school. From nursery, we went to secondary education. So when we go to the secondary education, we now started thinking of a university. And then it was at that point in time I decided, okay, what kind of university? Is it the British model, which is the one we have in Nigeria, or another system? There were two considerations that I took into mind. One, I was virtually a student of the American Peace Corps when I was in the secondary school from 1961 up to 1965. Of course, the Peace Corps scheme actually stopped around 1963 or so.
Okay.
But from 61 up to 63, I was a student of the Peace Corps. And then, secondly, I thought the American system of education must be the best. Why? If America today is the most advanced country in the world technologically, is the fast economy in the world today, then there must be something good about
their system
of education. Mm-hmm. And all development is based on human development, that is education.
Yeah.
So I now decided to opt for the American model of university. After that, then I now decided that the entire educational system, and then I went back to the secondary school. I also converted it into
the nursery and the primary.
And the nursery and the primary. So today, from kindergarten
to university.
Up to university. So you can do your master's, you can do your PhD.
Postgraduate and every other thing.
And then also decide to teach there and retire there. What the Americans call from cradle to grave.
Oh, cradle to grave. Interesting.
Yes.
Now, I would ask you why you decided to do that in Yola. Every other person would have thought, Abuja would, is more central. And of course, it's in the midst of where the money is. And of course, Lagos has more people and has the population. Why did you choose Yola?
Because Yola is my home state. Yola gave me all the education, except my university education. And I also felt that starting such a university in Yola will also impact on the immediate community. Universities, worldwide tend to impact economically, socially on their immediate environment. And that is why during one of the Founders Day, I charged the university to be a development university.
Okay.
Meaning that it is a university that is established to have a direct impact on its immediate environment and also the country at large. So as of today, we are the only development university in Africa. And that's why we are involved in so many community projects, in and around Yola.
Now, I'm about to ask you a very funny question now. Africans always say, if a man does not smoke, he will drink. And if he doesn't drink, he will womanize. Which of the three do you do?
I don't smoke. I don't drink. I've stopped womanizing.
All right, you have it there. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, and he has stopped womanizing. Okay, now, would you describe yourself as a romantic person? Would you say, your wives will know better, but would you say that you have a bit of romance in you?
Yes, I believe I have, because I don't get shy kissing them in public, hugging them, patting them. So I believe that is romantic enough.
Okay. Your dream to become the president of Nigeria has been ongoing for a while, and you seem, very dogged in this pursuit. What is the inspiration behind this doggedness?
The inspiration behind this doggedness is the desire and commitment to give back to what Nigeria has done for me. Nigeria has done wonderfully well for me. You know, imagine me from such a family going through what I went through. I had free education from primary up to university level. At the university, even in fact at the primary, I was being given pocket money on a weekly basis. And sometimes this pocket money, I used it to look after my family up to the university. And then after finishing university, I did not have to apply for a job. You know, they just came and interviewed us and they said, come to Lagos and work. I mean, I don't see this happening today.
So Nigeria has invested a lot in you.
So much. And it is this desire to give back to Nigeria, one, and also the desire to make sure that I contribute to future generations of Nigerians.
We've been speaking with former Vice President of Nigeria and presidential aspirant, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and he's been revealing some hidden truths about himself, more revealing facts after this break.